Yeah, Purdue just made a big mistake. No, I'm not talking about saying that because the new athletic director took a cheap shot at Indiana. Look, rivalry needs trash talk. I want more of the trash talk. To me, the mistake was choosing Curt Cignetti as the guy you decide to hand free motivation to, because Purdue's new athletic director just stood up and said, well, let's just go ahead and listen to this in his introductory press conference.
Every recruit, every current student athlete will hear this message repeatedly. We are here to win championships. If you don't want to win championships, go to Indiana.
Yeah, not great. Yeah, so that line might have sounded good when you were writing it down, and who knows? I mean, whether he wrote it down or he just said it off the cuff. If he said it off the cuff, write your stuff more. But there's just one tiny problem. Indiana, yeah, they literally just won a national championship. So in this episode of the Big Ten Huddle presented by FanDuel, I want to talk about why this wasn't merely just a bad joke and why it may have given Cignetti exactly the kind of disrespect he loves to weaponize, why Purdue is almost the worst possible position to be talking about this right now, and why this one sentence may have made the next Indiana-Purdue game even more personal, even more bloodthirsty, whatever you want to call it. I mean, drums will be murdered on the field, because the funniest part is not what Purdue said, it's who they said it to. Look, here's what's actually happened. Okay, Purdue is introducing a new athletic director, and this is supposed to be one of those moments where you establish the standard and you tell your fans what you want to become and who they're going to lead them to. You talk about competing, right? Resources. We're going to get good resources. Championships. We're going to compete at the highest level and not take anything less but contending for championships. Expectations. All completely fair. All completely fair. But then you throw the punchline in about Indiana, and we're here to win championships. If you don't want to win championships, go to Indiana. Again, Indiana just won the national championship. That is what makes this so incredible. At least when Cignetti said his thing about Ohio State, they didn't win a championship before. I guess Michigan did. So maybe, but he said it with a lot more gusto and confidence. That's what makes this so incredible. If you said this 5 years ago, Indiana fans, they would hate it, but Purdue fans would laugh, right? If you said it 10 years ago, most of the college football would probably understand the joke. You're saying it now? Now the joke immediately turns back to you, buddy. That's exactly what happened. This wasn't just Indiana fans getting mad, online. The comment broke outside the normal rival bubble. Everybody heard about it with national outlets and personalities jumping in because the irony was almost impossible to miss. That matters, because if your goal was to project strength and result was almost like the exact opposite. Purdue wanted the line to sound like we have championship standards. What everybody else heard was, we forgot Indiana's actually the defending national championship. And that's a rough start for Purdue. And if that were the entire story, this would be just, a funny press conference moment. I'd just hit click and we'd be done with the video, and you'd get, 3-minute and 30-second video. But that's not it, because now we get Curt Cignetti. You see, Cignetti has built this Indiana program with an edge. Not fake disrespect, like Georgia had a few years ago. Not manufactured outrage every single week, but this constant idea that if you doubt Indiana, you dismiss Indiana, if you treat Indiana like the old Indiana, they are going to make you answer for it on the field. And Purdue just gave him the easiest possible version of that message. He doesn't have to twist the quote. He doesn't have to, put like the brackets in there and like, oh, well, this is what he was actually talking about. He doesn't have to take something out of context. He doesn't have to convince the locker room that somebody, doesn't respect them. This isn't like Paul Feinbaum where like he said something disrespectful and you're like, okay, it's the dude's job. What are you going to do? The rival school's athletic director basically walked up to a mic and did the work for him. This is a gift. This is a gift from Purdue to Indiana. Indiana could be all fat and happy this season, but now they got Purdue, who they beat 56-3, talking crap to them, and there's a precedent for why this should make Purdue uncomfortable, because the 2024 rivalry game was apparently some back and forth between Purdue and Indiana players during the offseason. One Purdue player made comments about Indiana that crossed from playful rivalry talk into something the Hoosiers remembered. Then Indiana got its opportunity, and according to the story that came out later, I'm just kind of repeating the story here, Indiana players did not forget what was said, and that's the detail I would keep in the back of your mind, because Purdue's comment today disappears from social media, in a few days. It may have already disappeared by now by the time you're watching this. It does not disappear from Indiana inside the building. It does not disappear from Curt Cignetti's speeches. It does not disappear from Curt Cignetti's, quotes that he puts up on the wall. You don't even need to make the central theme of the season. You just save it, you file it, and you bring it back during Purdue week when it arrives, because you're not working on this quote for national championships. This is Purdue. Who cares? Like, they haven't won a conference game in 2 years. You bring it out when you go against Purdue, and you make sure those dudes do not forget what they said. Remember what they said about championships? That's it. You're done. Now the players take over, and because it was an insult to the players too. If you want to win championships, come here. Don't go there. They do want to win championships, and they have, and that's where this stops being about one funny quote. Starts becoming an entire football story, because the context makes Purdue's decision even stranger. Purdue's not taking this shot from a position of strength. This is a program that was in the Big Ten championship game only a few years ago. Then the coach leaves. The next coaching hire completely fails and botches it, Ryan Walters. Now, he had some bad luck, but he completely failed and botched it. The coach gets fired. Another coach comes in. The athletic department changes leadership. The football program has been trying to just get a win in the conference, and now they're going up against 11 Power 4 teams this season. They're a complete mess, and they have no idea what they're doing at this point. And God bless Barry Odom. He's trying to win with something you just can't win with at this point. Maybe that'll change later on, but I don't think any Purdue fan is disagreeing with me to say it's not in a good place. Meanwhile, Indiana's trajectory has gone, the exact opposite direction, skyrocketed up. Indiana went from being the easy punchline. They were being what Purdue is right now. And now they have the swagger and the target on their back. That role reversal is the actual story here. And this is why I'm not telling Purdue to stop talking. Please don't. Listen, I love the talk, and it makes for good content here. College football needs rivalry hate, okay? We need that. So there's the Big Ten and the SEC, Ohio State and Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, whatever it is. You need that. We have sanitized too much of the sport already. Coaches say nice things about everybody. Administrators talk like corporate releases. Players have trade, to say the opponent, they're really well coached and we have a lot of respect for them. Boring. If Purdue wants to tell Indiana it has bigger ambition, then do it. Yeah, great that you come up to the mic and say it, but also get up there and do it. Don't lose by 53, right? But understand what comes with that. When you take the shot, you had better be able to absorb the return fire. And right now, Indiana has all the ammunition. Recent scoreboard domination, a national championship, a coach who actively feeds off people questioning his program, questioning his players, questioning him, and a roster that is walking into this season trying to prove the championship wasn't some one-year fever dream. That last piece is where Purdue may have accidentally helped Indiana more than people realize. Because the biggest psychological challenge for the Hoosiers this year is not convincing players they can win. They know they can win. They just did it. The challenge is creating the same hunger after everybody spent an entire offseason acknowledging the championship and telling them how great they were. Not everybody. Here at the Big Ten Huddle, we did. Definitely did. National media still didn't give them a whole lot of credit. They're number 6 in the coaches poll. Then they have this from the Purdue AD. Think about how different this is. When you're the overlooked team, motivation is everywhere. Nobody believes in you. Nobody respects you. Everybody picks against you. You're not even in the top 5 in the coaches poll. Every ranking becomes fuel. Every prediction becomes fuel. Every slight becomes fuel But what happens when you are the champion? Now, everybody, it's not everybody, a lot more people are willing to tell you how good you are. Now people want interviews. Now people are dying to come to your press conferences. Now you're getting praised instead of mocked. I went to an Indiana press conference not too long ago. Looked a whole lot, bigger than it was years ago. Now opposing teams are circling Indiana on the schedule. How do you keep the edge when you're no longer the hunter? How do you make a team that reached the top feel like somebody is still coming for what belongs to them? Well, apparently Purdue is willing to give you a gift. Apparently Purdue is willing to give you the fire. Apparently Purdue is willing to give you the weapon. Not the quote itself, but the timing. The timing of the quote. Indiana needs reasons to feel challenged again. And you can find them all over the place, but this is one quote in particular for this one game coming up. And it's the biggest in-state rival just volunteered up for him. And there's another layer here that I think makes the whole thing even funnier. Eventually, the talking stops on this, right? Eventually, somebody has, to price what these teams actually are. When FanDuel eventually puts a number on the bucket game, that's when all the bravado gets a price tag. People can say Purdue is coming, or they can say this rivalry is different. People can talk about the standards and when these two teams get together, the bucket, the old bucket game. They can talk about championships. They can talk about what Purdue is going to become or what they hope they're going to become. The market eventually asks a much simpler question. Who do you actually believe, or how many games do you actually believe Purdue is going to win? Because right now on FanDuel, they are the lowest of the low. They have the worst odds to win 2+ games this season. Them in Boston College in the Power Four, right? And until Purdue changes the answer on the field, the jokes, the odds, things like that, they're just going to keep coming. And that's the uncomfortable part, because rivalry trash talk works best when both sides have ammunition. Unfortunately, Purdue is shooting with no barrel in the gun. Purdue is essentially talking about where it wants to go. Indiana gets to the point where they already went. Now, there is one thing Indiana fans should not do. Don't turn this into fake outrage. There's no reason. This is sports. Right? The Purdue athletic director is trying to fire his Purdue people up. I do think your athletic director saying it instead of your coach is, a little bit different. People want to talk about what Cignetti said at the basketball game. He tried to take a rivalry jab. It backfired because the timing was absolutely hilarious, and that's enough, right? You don't need to pretend the quote was offensive. You don't need to demand apologies. Just laugh at it, save it, get ready for what's coming at the end of November, right? And then make sure the football team handles the rest. And they will. And they will know, because he was talking about that team. He was talking about those players. Because the best rivalry responses has never been a statement from the athletic director. It's the scoreboard. And honestly, that's what makes this whole thing fun. Purdue wants to talk about how, talk differently because Purdue wants to become something different. Oh, good. The programs have higher expectations. The rivalry is better than Purdue believes it can, punch Indiana in the mouth, and Indiana believes that it can do the exact same thing back to them. But if you're going to publicly challenge the defending national champions, you also need to accept what comes with that. You become a part of the motivation. You become part of the story. And potentially, you become the quote somebody throws back at you in November. Let me take a drink. That's ultimately why I think Purdue is going to really regret this. I do. Not because Curt Cignetti needed motivation. Not because Indiana suddenly cares about Purdue. Only because of one press conference. And it's certainly not because rivalry trash talk should disappear. It shouldn't. Listen, I love the rivalry trash talk. I love Bryce Underwood, what he says about Ohio State. I love when Ryan Day gets a little feisty about the team up north, right? Purdue's mistake was much simpler. The entire challenge for Indiana after winning a national championship, finding a way to create the edge that helped build the thing in the first place, Purdue just handed them one for free. And when rivalry week arrives, remember this quote. I'm sure it'll be posted all over the place on X and Twitter or Instagram or whatever else, TikTok, whatever else it might be. Okay. Indiana went there And apparently, they found a championship waiting for them. Now, Purdue has to prove it in its own words. It's not going to be football this year. Could it be basketball coming up? Maybe. We'll see. Matt Painter's a better bet for you than Barry Odom at this point. I'm not trying to disrespect Barry Odom. I just don't think he has what he needs. That's what makes the rivalry fun. Again. If you want more Big Ten football analysis and talk about rivalries and all the good stuff without the national media fluff, like the video and subscribe to the Big Ten Huddle. And Indiana fans, like IU fans, I want to know this one in the comments. Should Cignetti save the quote from the Purdue week, or is it the scoreboard already enough? Should he post it online? Should he say something about it at the press conference? I'd love to know your thoughts. Thanks so much for listening and watching to the Big Ten Huddle. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.